As a pastor, I worry about a lot of things, and one of the things I've been worried about for several months now is as we plan the renovation in our sanctuary, I worried about whether the congregation could be flexible enough to worship in our chapel hall like we're doing. I worried about the choir and whether they would all stick around through this disruption. And look at you guys. Here you are, sitting in some of you folding chairs. The choir all here. I'm so proud of you and your willingness to adapt and be flexible as we have not only the planned disruption, but then the unplanned disruption on top of that. And here we are together being community together. We need each other in times like this. And so I'm proud of you for showing up. Some of you, even though you didn't want to. Some of you, even though you didn't feel like it, here you are to be community with one another. We're showing up for one another. That's what we do. When we care about people, we show up, and here you are. I'm proud of you, Chapel. The fable of the harsh master. Once upon a time, there was a man who sold wares. He traveled from town to town and village to village. He had a donkey, and the donkey would carry all the goods that he would sell from town to town. Well, his donkey, oh my goodness, what a beautiful creature. Big, strong, straight back, ears that were perky, eyes that lit up, sure-footed, steady, strong, a beautiful specimen. Well, one day the donkey stumbled as it was going to town, and the harsh master began to berate the donkey, took a stick and started beating the donkey. How dare you? You're making me look bad in front of these villagers who will want to buy anything from somebody with a donkey as stupid as you. Well, some of the townspeople kind of heard what was happening, and one man said, "Why are you beating such a beautiful specimen?" And the man turned and he said, "Mind your own business. This is my donkey and I'll do as I wish." Then the donkey and the harsh masters disappeared into the marketplace. The next year, the man and his donkey showed up, and the donkey wasn't quite the fine specimen he had been the year before. His coat was kind of diminished. His back was now kind of arched. His eyes were bloodshot, and he wasn't as sure on his feet. And so as they came into town, the harsh master was already berating and beating the animal coming into town. And so the crowd was noticing what was kind of gathering around the master and his donkey. And a man called out from the crowd saying, "Why do you beat your animal like that?" And the harsh master said, "Mind your own business. This is my animal. I'll treat him the way I see fit, and he isn't good for anything." So the master and the donkey and all the wares disappeared into the marketplace. The next year, the villagers were mingling about the town, and they heard this commotion coming down the roadway, a man yelling at something, and so they began to gather. Well, there was the harsh master, and the donkey looked terrible, emaciated, the fur kind of falling out in patches, could barely walk, and every time the master came near, the donkey would try to bite him. And so the master had a longer stick now to beat the donkey with, and was beating the donkey on the way in. And somebody from the crowd said, "Why are you treating your animal like that?" He said, "This animal's good for nothing. I don't even know why I keep it around." Well, the fourth year, the man was broken down himself. He came into town and he was limping and haggard, his disheveled, his scowl was bigger than it had ever been, and he was carrying a cart behind him, lugging the wares himself. And the townspeople recognized him and said, Where's your donkey?" He said, "Oh, that piece of nothing up and died on me." That's the fable of the harsh master. I want you to hold on to that for a moment. We will return. We're in this series that we're calling Do Unto Others, and I told you already, I already spilled the beans that we're focusing on the second part of the Golden Rule. So once again, help me remember what that is. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So in order to do unto others, we first have to know what it is that we would want others to do unto us. It's a prerequisite for being able to do unto others in any kind of effective or meaningful or authentic way. And so today we're going to focus on the second part, as you would have others do unto you. We think we know how we want to be treated, but have you ever met somebody who maybe stayed in a relationship where they weren't treated with worth or dignity or value, and yet they stayed in the relationship? And so I wonder if there's a part of that kind of dynamic in each of us that maybe we think we know how we would want to be treated. And most of us could say we want to be treated with respect, we want to be treated with kindness, we want to be treated with mercy and with grace and with compassion. And a lot of us surround ourselves with people who treat us like that. And because of that, I want to suggest that maybe the harshest person in our life, the meanest person in our life, is the person we see every day in the mirror. Psychologists sometimes call this the inner critic. Right? Are you familiar with have you met the inner critic before? That voice in your head that kind of is really judgmental, kind of gives you a hard time, tells you you're not good enough. The inner critic says things like, oh, you're not smart enough, or you're not thin enough, or you're not strong enough. Who do you think you are? You can't do this. You're not worthy. You're not enough to handle this moment. Who do you think you are? The inner critic can say lots of things. Those are some examples of what the inner critic might say. And I want to suggest that after trauma like we've collectively experienced over the past month or so, that the inner critic sees this as an opportunity to pounce. Oh, you can't handle this. This is too much for you. Somebody stronger than you, somebody younger than you could handle this. You can't handle this. Have you heard that? You don't have to raise a hand, but have you heard that voice? Has the inner critic been present to you, not for you, not with you, but to you? So let's do just a quick check over the past month with our collective trauma. A, have you been pretty gentle with yourself? Saying kind things to yourself, allowing yourself to be the human that you actually are? Or B, have you been pretty hard on yourself? Have you been unkind, harsh, mean even? Have you berated yourself for not being everything you thought you should be in the moment? You don't have to raise your hand for that either. If there's part of B going on with you, if the self-talk isn't maybe what it could be, uplifting as it maybe ought to be, I've got a help for us this morning. I've got sort of a model, a method for taming that inner critic. Because we're doing unto self, doing unto others as we would have others do unto us, including that mean self-critic. What would we want to say to ourselves if we were being kind to ourselves? So the teacher who developed this model, her name is Tara Brach, and she's a wisdom teacher. And her model is an acronym, and it's called RAIN, R-A-I-N. For you note takers, all one of you in the congregation, here's your opportunity to take a note or two. RAIN, R-A-I-N. First thing you do to kind of tame that inner critic is to recognize what's going on. This is sometimes called mindfulness, or simply noticing, oh, I'm tired. Some of you have said, I've been so busy that I've forgotten to eat. Oh, I'm hungry. And it could also be emotional. Oh, wow, I'm really anxious, or I'm really angry, or I'm really sad, or I feel shame, right? Just noticing, oh, that's happening within me right now. Recognize what's going on. Just notice. You don't have to change anything, just notice. That's the R in RAIN. A is for allow the experience to be exactly what it is, without judgment, without any negative commentary. Oh, I'm tired. The inner critic would say, yeah, you ain't no spring chicken anymore, are ya? Newer, kinder self would say, you're tired. Oh, it's because you're human and you've been going at it 90 to nothing for a month. You're sad? You're not allowed to be sad. I'm a man. Men don't get sad. Yeah, right. Oh, it's okay to be sad because I'm human. And so allowing the experience to be what it is, one way to do that is after you notice, after you recognize what's there, simply to say, it's okay. It's okay to feel hungry. It's okay to take care of yourself in the middle of all this. It's okay. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel shame. It's okay. Are you with me? You notice, you recognize what's going on, you allow the experience to be what it is without judgment. Then after you have done that, you've recognized it, you've allowed it to be, then you investigate. You investigate with interest and with care. Now, this isn't kind of with judgment, right? This isn't putting it through the ringer to figure out what's happening. You can say, well, why do I feel hungry? Well, I haven't eaten since yesterday. Why do I feel sad? Maybe a little harder. And the idea is to take it from your head and put it into your heart. Let me give you an example just from my life. So this week I picked up my kid after school, my 10-year-old, and he said, Mama, my toe hurts. And I said, well, suck it up, Buttercup. I didn't. Right? Like, oh, well, I'm sorry that your toe hurts, and when we get home, let's figure out what's going on there, right? We're investigating. And so we get home, and I sit down on the couch, and I have him come lay down on the couch so he can put his feet on my lap, okay? Nothing looks wrong with his toe. I was like, well, maybe there's an ingrown. Maybe some of you all hate toes. Just close your ears right now. Maybe there's an ingrown toenail, or maybe he's outgrowing his shoes and it's squeezing. And so I kind of investigated, tried to figure it out with some tenderness. I couldn't quite figure it out, so I simply said, well, I'm not sure, but if it keeps hurting, let me know. And then he went on his way. I haven't heard about the toe since. So like a loving parent, you investigate. Why do I feel sad? Why do I feel shame? Why do I feel angry? So you recognize what's going on. You allow it to be. It's okay. You investigate with interest and especially with care. And then you nurture. N is for nurture. Well, what's going on with the toe? Maybe we should get you some nicer socks. Maybe we should get you some bigger shoes. Right? What's going on with that sadness? Maybe you could let yourself cry. It's okay to cry. Maybe you could let yourself feel shame. Maybe you could let yourself take care of you. Talked to somebody who got a massage, I think yesterday. Good for you. I talked to somebody who did that floaty thing where you float in salt water. What's that called? Good for you. We got to take care of ourselves in times of trauma and times of grief. So, RAIN. Are you ready? R is for recognize. Yeah, you're awake. Let's try that again. R is for recognize. Just recognize what's going on. A is for allow the experience to be just what it is. I is for investigate. You're with me. You investigate with interest and with care. N is for nurture. Taking care of whatever it is that hurts inside. This week, I helped a lady whose house flooded during the storm. Her car was in her garage, and it wasn't even an electric car, and it blew up and it burned her house down. And she told me, in the midst of several conversations, she said, I inherited this house from my parents. She said, they gave me this house and I blew it up. Did she blow up her house? No. But see the self-talk that's going on there. You can kind of pick up on the self-talk that's happening there. So I tried to help her reframe. I said, your parents gave you this house? Yes. But there was a terrible storm that came through that did incomprehensible damage. So let's be a little more gentle with you in the way you talk about this. See, being gentle with ourselves is important after trauma. If we're harsh with ourselves, it adds suffering upon suffering. I told you that I would return to the fable of the harsh master. Did you like that story? No. I didn't like that story. The harsh master. We think of the harsh master as the villain and the donkey as the victim, perhaps. If you look a little deeper into this allegory, you can see that these two characters are aspects within the self. We have both inside of us. We have the beautiful, strong, loyal, courageous donkey, and we have that harsh inner critic within us, both inside of us, operating in various ways. The model I taught you, this model of recognizing, allowing, investigating, and then nurturing, this can break the power of the inner critic. It can tame that voice. It can help the harsh master be a little more gentle with the donkey that's within. Now, what does all of this have to do with the Bible, Pastor? Thanks for asking. The scripture lesson that we read together. It's the vision of God's restored kingdom when all is at peace and there is harmony, and the wolf will lie down with what? With the lamb. The wolf and the lamb shall lie down together. I've always mostly kind of read that literally, right? With a literal wolf and a literal lamb, and that's certainly a good and acceptable way to read it. But lately I've been thinking about the wolf and the lamb inside of me. There's both in me, and I bet there's both in you. And so in order to get to that vision of God's holy mountain where there is peace and harmony, maybe, just maybe, the wolf and the lamb inside of you need to find a way to lie down together. How? By being a little bit compassionate to you. And only when you find a way to be compassionate to yourself, only then and only then can you, in any authentic or genuine way, do unto others with compassion. Amen.